Beautiful Tianhe Township sits in the mountains of northern Guangxi and was an important stop for river transportation in an area that had few roads during World War II. For that reason, the Japanese had taken Tianhe as they pushed northwards into the mountains and ultimately towards the beleaguered Chinese capital at Chongqing. The Japanese held on to it with determination, despite several bombing raids by American fighter planes, which would slip in from a small side valley, then turn towards the wider open space above the town on each run. On February 26, 1945, the Americans made another bombing run using P-51 fighters, making two back-to-back passes over the Japanese positions. One pilot, Second Lieutenant Dick Edwards, lost his life on the second run. Mr. Lee, a local historian, having gotten our call the night before, has already interviewed some local people and has an outline of what people remember put together before we arrive. He has also arranged for us to meet an eyewitness, Mr. Wei, who was a child in school during the war.
1946年的春天，怎么美国朋友的，真吧？美国来。美国朋友。朋友来见。就把那个当时这个飞机坠毁这个飞行员的这个衣服啊，捡回去。对，当时他以前他就在。
The memorial service was a grand affair, with many hundreds of local people present, called there by a county official. In traditional Chinese fashion, a symbolic offering of fruit was placed on a small round bamboo table, and both candles and incense were burned. Speeches were given, including one in English by a local teacher, in recognition of the Americans who were present. Morning music was played by musicians. Mr. Wei himself played a small horn. Amazingly, local people still remember a Chinese version of Dick Edwards' name, which had been transliterated by the English teacher for use in the memorial service.
Pretty soon we're going to go up and see, meet some other old folks who still remember. I guess I feel an urgency to record even these details for whatever value it has. Certainly, you know, we don't have any record of these details and the feelings people had, the atmosphere at the time, you know, what was really like. I think those are valuable. I think they're meaningful. I think they're meaningful in terms of historical reasons. I think they're also meaningful for Americans and Chinese to remember, to rediscover all they have in common.
At the actual site where Dick Edwards' P-51 came down, the son of the man who buried Dick Edwards' body speaks to us from his childhood memories.
飞机总是从这边来，那天呢大概有10多架飞机轰炸点我，到这个过了那个山，一过了那个山，这飞机开始抬头，飞机一抬头上来，那炸弹就掉下来了，这样经过就在那路炸。当飞机产下那时候产下比较矮啊，这跟地面是不高啊，那是日本鬼去的这个产，所以应该去那房子那，日本鬼炸出。
就是那个房子。
哦，就是西南海的房子，已经有日本鬼在那炸去。日本鬼子呢，都用这个高射机关枪啊，就是什么大飞机啊，飞机。
The town of Tianhe, emptied of Chinese civilians before the Japanese had arrived, was itself bombed in that and other raids. No one is angry that the American bombing destroyed houses and shops in the town. I asked several of the old-timers, and they declare unanimously that they were happy for anything that would chase the invaders away. A few of the unexploded bombs are still under the streets of Tianhe, or even under the houses, having been considered too dangerous to take out. Later in the U.S., at the National Archives, we discover a declassified record of this crash. The description of that event is a striking match to the account given by the people of Tianhe. Another pilot that day, Lieutenant Jesse Teague, witnessed Dick Edwards' death. During a phone call to Jesse Teague's wife, Louise, she reads to me an entry in a personal history that Jesse Teague had written out for their daughter. It went like this. At Tianhe, a young pilot named Edwards preceded me in a dive bomb run. In pulling out of his dive, he must have pulled back on the stick too hard, and his P-51 snap rolled. When he recovered from the snap, he was still in a dive, and he snap rolled again. This snap was so violent that his right wing broke off at the wheel support position. The plane tumbled to the ground so violently that he had no chance to bail out. I have wanted to fly other men's planes before, but never have I wanted so much to be able to reach another man's controls. Louise Teague pauses, then quietly says, "That's all." But really it is so much. As I hang up the phone, I wonder, as I have in other past cases, does Dick Edwards' family still miss him, as James Vaughn's family in Texas has? Do they wonder where and how he died? Would it help them to know that Dick Edwards helped to turn the Japanese back as they pushed into the mountains towards the Chinese capital at Chongqing? Might they be comforted to know that, after the end of the war in the spring of 1946, when 2 American men rode ponies into that valley and retrieved his bones from the earth, that many hundreds of local people had come together on a small hill overlooking the town in somber memorial before those bones were taken from the valley? Would it provide some peace to know that at a local school for over 4 decades, children were rung into their classes each day using part of an unexploded bomb from that raid made into a bell, once ugly but now made clean by the children's laughing and joyful voices?